Hello and welcome to the third rail. We have a new addition to the collection this week. I received this little AE6/6 of the Swiss Railways, and I thought we should have a first look at it together. So let's start with a quick model overview as usual. This model is one of the so-called Märklin classics. It's a model that remained in a virtually unchanged state in the catalogue for a very long period of time. This model, number 3050, was introduced in its first version in 1964. It was changed slightly in 1978 for version 2. A different pantograph type was attached to the model. And in 1979, a final version, as far as the standard program is concerned, was introduced with brown electric lines on the roof and yet another type of pantographs. In 1993, a version 4 was issued to commemorate the 20 years of Märklin, Switzerland. This model is the same as version 3, but there's a little plaque that was attached on the underside of the model to mark the event. Since then, a few other models were issued, but carrying different model numbers, so I leave them out of this presentation to keep things simple. The version I acquired is version 3, and let's have a quick look at a few vital statistics. It measures 20 centimeters buffer to buffer. The model is of a complete metal construction with all molded details. The locomotive is equipped with a large 3-pole flat collector motor. This motor drives 6 wheels equipped with 4 traction tires. We have working pantographs, lighting on both sides, which is permanently on, and the usual hook couplings as with all diesel and electric locomotives produced by Märklin in the era. Now let's have a look at a few informations about the prototype for context. The model represents an AE6/6 of the Swiss Railways. It was a mixed service locomotive developed originally for use on the Gotthard route. The specifications for this locomotive were issued in 1949 as a response to changes in traffic. The crocodiles, the AE4/6s and the BE4/6s could no longer cope with the type of traffic going over the Gotthard route. 3 Swiss companies, the Schweizerische Lokomotiv- und Maschinenfabrik Winterthur, the Brown Boveri Company and the Maschinenfabrik Oerlikon from Zurich later on, started work on the new locomotive, and in 1951 the tests started on the first prototype. The development phase took another 2 years, and in 1954 an order was finally placed for the first production units, which entered service in 1955. The specifications of the production machines remained virtually unchanged until their retirement. They were 15 kV AC locomotives capable of speeds of 125 km per hour. They could also hold a 600-ton load at 85 km per hour on the Gotthard gradients. These specs allowed a simplification of the operations on the Gotthard line as the need for bank engines was reduced. All in all, 120 units were produced until 1966. These locomotives were a source of pride for Switzerland, and as they entered service they were each given a name. The first 25 received the name of a canton, which are districts, we could say, in Switzerland. The next 25 received the names of the capital cities of each canton, and the remaining units were named after important localities located on the parts of the network where the locomotives were operating. To represent these names, a crest was attached on the side of each locomotive. The locomotives were really the stars of the Gotthard line throughout the 1960s. At the beginning of the 1970s, more powerful locomotives entered service on the line, which started a slow relegation or redeployment process of the AE 6/6 to lesser duties on flatter part of the Swiss network. Over the years, the livery applied to the locomotives changed. For example, some locomotives received a red livery from the 1980s onwards, but not all of them. Some remained in their original green livery. In 1999, there was a reorganization of the Swiss railways, which saw the AE 6/6 reassigned for freight duties to the SBB cargo. In the process, the locomotives received a new SBB cargo livery and a new class number, the 610. A few years after their transfer to SBB Cargo, the company announced withdrawal plans for the class. This was done progressively, and the last unit was scrapped in 2013. And this completes the high-level overview of the prototype. The model is well known and well documented. There's plenty of information on the internet. I've put a few links in the description if you're interested. Right, let's have a look at my 3050 now. The model came in its original packaging, which is the traditional blue and orange packaging that was in use from the 70s through to the late 80s. It's the right box for the model with the 3050 sticker on the side. The box has a few storage and handling marks, which is to be expected, and there's a tear here and there, but nothing major as far as I'm concerned. Right, let's have a look inside the box and what surprises we've got in store. So we've got instructions, which is always a bonus, although they're quite minimalistic, and the model doesn't look too bad. Yes. So we're going to take it out of its box carefully. Yeah, definitely doesn't look too bad. Right, I'm going to put the model on a presentation rail as usual, and we'll have a closer look. And here we are on the presentation rail. So the model is supposed to be a version 3. That seems correct. We have brown electric lines on the roof, and the type of pantographs that were applied to Märklin models in the period. So far this definitely looks like a version 3. This model was sold to me in good to very good condition. Let's have a closer look and see if this is indeed the case. So we can see the numerous molded details that are present on the metal body of this locomotive. When it was first introduced, it was one of the most detailed models to date. All the details are given a bit of relief or relief with some chrome paint, as they were on the prototype. Nothing seems to have been rubbed off too much. So far, considering the state the locomotive was sold as, I think it's not bad at all. The handrails don't have any rust, which is good. If we change the angle and look from the side a bit, we can see that the bar which is applied at the bottom of the cab window on that side will need straightening. That's not a major thing. Nothing that a bit of pliers or some tweezers can't fix. But apart from that, all the cab paint is still in original condition. There's not been any touch-up, and we have tiny spots of paint flaking off, but nothing too major. There's a bit of dirt on the other side of the cab, but that's nothing that a bit of WD-40 can't fix. Let's move to the other side now. Apart from the dirt marks I just mentioned, we have a minor defect on the S in the SBB sign, and apart from that the details are there and the paint is still in very good original shape. I'm pretty sure that will clean up very nicely, but the model is already pretty clean for a well-used model. Yeah, not bad at all. Details are all still present, readable, and the handrails do not have any rust on them, which is always a bonus. Yeah, a bit of dirt again here and there, but nothing that cannot be cleaned. Let's have a look at the model from another angle on that side. Yeah, I think it looks good. And the cab is in excellent condition, this on that side. Nothing to straighten up. Very good. On to the roof, all the lines and the little plastic details are present. We can see that the pantographs have definitely seen some overhead lines, which is a good sign, as it means that one of the owners had a layout and overhead lines, so is extremely likely to have taken good care of the locomotive mechanically. So let's have a look at the chassis now. It looks as if it's seen some track, but nothing is missing or broken, so that's very good. There's one thing I can see is that the bogie with the driving wheels is dislodged, so it doesn't move. It's the one I'm pointing to with my screwdriver. So I'm going to have to fix this before giving it a function test. Let's move to the layout. So I needed to open the locomotive to reseat the driving bogie, which was done in a couple of minutes. It gave me an opportunity to check the inside of the locomotive, which is all in original condition. That's very good. And then I was ready for a first function test, and the locomotive performed very well. Absolutely no issue. That's the beauty of locomotives, which have been well looked after and used frequently, as opposed to spend their life in a box. Very nice. It will only take a few drops of oil to get this locomotive back in top shape. Maybe also a small tuning or adjusting of the reverser spring, but nothing major, all pretty standard. Right, I'm satisfied. Let's have a look at what cars I could use with this locomotive now. And with this locomotive we have plenty of choice, from Swiss cars from the 50s and 60s to Swiss cars from the 70s, 80s, as well as any freight car used in Europe for international goods traffic. Due to the job the prototype had, it's quite nice to have a model that can pull pretty much anything. And I have quite a few examples of suitable stock in the collection, which I am sure will look very nice when I come to run this lovely AE 6/6. But for now I'd like to thank you very much for watching. It's very much appreciated. I'd also like to thank the existing and recent subscribers to the channel. I'm still surprised that people are interested in my production, so much so that they subscribe to the channel and sometimes give me a like. It's very rewarding and keeps me going. Thanks very much again. Bye for now.